Hey, don't walk away. We got to shoot a video. We got to keep this going. Where are you going? You can't. Hey, you're not getting a bone. Where are you going? You're not getting a bone if you walk out. Okay, we're going to discuss this later. Hey, everybody. Roy Caballo, broker owner, Caballo's Realty. Let's talk about real estate. I teased this a little while ago. I'm getting back into the whole the VA series that we were working on in the past, so I'm wanting to add to that. I had kind of teased this piece a little bit before, so let's jump into the VA minimum property requirements. So I actually went and printed this monster, right? Because I thought I knew this pretty well, and I do. I mean, I'm pretty boned up on it. I mean, like 65% of our book of business is working with veterans to help them get situated. So I went ahead and printed this. It's chapter 12, minimum property requirements, and it's a pretty cool document. It's available online. It's VA pamphlet 26-7. This is the 2019 edition, I believe. It's the newest one that's on the VA website. So 52 pages long. Nowhere in here does it say you can't buy a fixer-upper, right? A lot of what's in here is kind of vague. A lot of what's in here doesn't state specifics, but it does tell you other places where you can go get the specifics. So the whole story in a nutshell with regards to this document, really honestly, if you want to believe it or not, go all the way back to page 28. It talks about conditions which impair the safety, sanitation, or structural soundness of the dwelling will cause the property to be unacceptable until the defects or conditions have been remedied and the probability of further damage eliminated. Examples of defective conditions include defective construction, okay, poor workmanship, evidence of continued settlement, not settlement cracks. That's not settlement cracks. That's worse than settlement cracks, right? Leakage, a leaky roof. That could be leaky plumbing, depending on where it's at, right? Decay, and termites, also known as WDOs or wood-destroying organisms. Notice that it didn't say that, it said termites. So, it's a cool document to read. It's more than what most people know or understand. There's a ton of realtors, I guarantee you, that have never cracked this chapter open and have no idea because they really, no fault of theirs, they don't do a whole lot of VA transactions. So, not going to fault them for that. There's lenders that don't know what's in here, right? Being completely fair, I keep this as a reference. There's sections of it that I will probably never be worried about. For instance, the lava flow section. That's in Florida. That's not something I'm really going to worry about a whole lot. But there is a section in here about sinkholes. Florida does have sinkholes. Now, not predominantly in Southwest Florida where we're at, but there is a section that talks about sinkholes. So if I was more closer to, say, let's see, Spring Hill, Ocala, someplace like that, I'd be a little bit more concerned about sinkholes. Talks about drainage, talks about topology, talks about, topology. A lot of people don't, that's land surface, kind of how the land goes, that kind of thing. Non-residential use is addressed in here. What if you're purchasing a property that's a business on the bottom and a residence on top? That's addressed in here, right? A lot of what's in this documentation, you can see I highlighted some stuff. A lot of what's in this documentation puts the onus on the property being acceptable on the appraiser. And it specifically states in several areas in here that the appraiser is going to use their, I'm going to say it's one of their favorite verbiages, subject to. In other words, we're going to give you the appraisal, but, insert asterisks here, but you have to fix something, or you have to do something, or it has to pass a particular test. And that's not the appraiser being ugly in any way. That's the appraiser actually trying to take care of the veteran based on the VA's rules. Now, a lot of the stuff in here is very vague. It talks about a water test, but it doesn't tell you the specifics of the water test, that the water test has to be looking for certain things. That's something that you kind of learn over time, and you have to dig a little bit. It does talk about the need for hot water. Well, what's hot water? What temperature defines hot water? That's not in here, right? It talks about the need for the property to be able to retain heat. Well, that's cool, but we're in Florida, right? There is a list of exceptions that are in there for certain places, which Heat happens to be one of them, and there are links in it. If you go use it online, there are links that will take you to where the exceptions are at and the additional documentation. So if you click on the link for the exceptions for that, it specifically says if you're in South Florida, you don't need to worry about the heat part. Thank God. That makes sense, right? Lot in this document, a lot to go over, a lot to talk about. I could do a whole podcast. I could get a home inspector in here and we could talk about things that we've seen. One of the favorites for the VA, chipping, peeling paint. That's a biggie for the VA, chipping, peeling paint. Settlement cracks, not so much. Water test, huge. Water test is a huge thing. WDOs, wood destroying organism inspections, there is a specific document for that the VA usually wants. A lot of that is addressed in here, but the finite details are not addressed in here. Let me see if I can real quick find you one more example, because I don't want to lose you because the video gets a little bit long. So let me give you one of the generalities that's in here. Right, we're looking at page 12-6. Each living space must have sufficient space for Each living unit, must have sufficient space for living, sleeping, cooking and dining, and sanitary facilities. But that's all it says. It doesn't define what that is. Right? So, what do you take away from it? It's an important document. Yes, it's definitely important because it's going to help you kind of hone in on if that property you're looking at is one that will actually work. Got to find a realtor like me or Lisa that has a lot of experience with VA transactions that can kind of point you out towards, hey, that's not a good thing. That's exposed wiring. That's going to be an issue. Is it going to kill the transaction? Not necessarily. Is it fixable? Well, depends. The VA, that becomes when the appraiser says that's a required repair, then stop. Everything stops and we go into negotiation. Is the seller willing to fix it? Or in many cases, the VA says the buyer's allowed to fix it if the buyer's willing to fix it, right? And then we're talking about possibly doing some addendums to the contract or whatnot. A lot to go into this, lots and lots to go into this. You guys tell me what you'd like to see in the next piece of the VA series. I'd love to do it for you. Lisa and I have a ton of experience when it comes to VA transactions, and we're veterans, so we kind of like helping our brothers and sisters. If you're an agent and you just have questions about VA transactions and how they work, by all means, reach out to me. I'm not gonna rat you out to your broker. I'm not that kind of person. And if you just need some help, yes, Karma. And if you just need some help, by all means, just reach out to us. We'd love to answer your questions and see what interests you and which direction you'd like to see the channel go. So stay tuned for the next piece of the VA series and the next video that I get my hands on doing. Trying to think of a couple of different avenues. Look me up, Roy Caballo, broker owner, 863-441-3295. If you're in the neighborhood, shoot me a text. Love to hear from you. Thanks, and all have a great week. Bye-bye.